So here we are, right inside the tomb of Lazarus. He was here, dead, for 4 days. And then Jesus would have been outside, and Jesus, in a loud voice, says, "Lazarus, come forth."
The tomb of Lazarus in Bethany has been a place of pilgrimage, prayer, and mystery. Believers have walked its stone steps to honor the man who, according to the Gospel of John, was raised from the dead by Jesus himself. But recently, a team of scientists and archaeologists descended beneath the ancient tomb, driven not only by faith, but by curiosity. And what they found has shaken even the most skeptical minds. Hidden beneath layers of stone and silence lay discoveries that defy easy explanation, raising questions about history, faith, and the limits of science. What secrets were waiting in the darkness beneath Lazarus's resting place? And why are they now suddenly coming to light? Stay tuned as we delve into this mystery. The story begins in the dusty village of Al-Azariah, known in biblical times as Bethany. The tomb of Lazarus has long been revered, but few realized that beneath its surface lay more than simple stone and earth. It was in the early days of excavation, when workers carefully brushed aside centuries of rubble, that something unexpected began to emerge. The initial goal was modest, surveying the tomb's structure and confirming its historical layers. But the instruments told a different story. Ground-penetrating radar revealed voids beneath the main chamber, patterns that hinted at man-made tunnels rather than natural caves. To the astonishment of the team, Lazarus's tomb wasn't a solitary resting place. It appeared to be connected to something deeper, hidden for nearly 2,000 years. When the first slab was shifted, a rush of stale, dry air spilled out, carrying with it the scent of untouched time. The narrow passage revealed carvings faintly etched into the walls, symbols unlike those typically found in Judea during the 1st century. Some were geometric, others almost pictorial, and none matched known languages of the region. The deeper they moved, the more unsettling the discovery became. The chamber expanded into what appeared to be a deliberate, hidden sanctuary. Broken fragments of pottery littered the ground, blackened as if scorched by fire. Along one wall lay an arrangement of stones in a circular pattern, their alignment precise, almost mathematical. The lead archaeologist, Dr. Samir Khalid, whispered what the others were thinking but dared not say aloud. This was no ordinary extension of a burial chamber. It seemed designed, perhaps even for a purpose beyond interment. And as the team pressed further, they realized they had only begun to uncover a mystery buried for centuries beneath the tomb of the man who, according to Scripture, returned from the dead. The deeper the team ventured beneath the tomb of Lazarus, the more the atmosphere shifted. The passageway they uncovered was not a crude tunnel carved by chance. Its walls were smooth, as though shaped by deliberate human effort, and the faint chisel marks suggested hands that had labored long before recorded history. The darkness pressed heavily on the explorers, broken only by the beams of their lanterns and the echo of footsteps against ancient stone. The tunnel narrowed as they advanced, forcing them to move in single file. A silence hung in the air, so complete that even the sound of breathing felt intrusive. It wasn't just a lack of light or sound. It was a kind of stillness that made the scientists feel as though they were intruding upon something meant to remain undisturbed. After nearly 20 meters, the tunnel opened suddenly into a vast chamber. At first, the team struggled to comprehend what they were seeing. The ceiling arched impossibly high for something buried so deep, and the stonework appeared far more advanced than anything typical of the 1st century Judean world. Intricate designs covered the walls, spirals, interlocking circles, and symbols resembling constellations. What unsettled the team most was the presence of what looked like sealed doorways. 3 of them stood in perfect symmetry around the chamber, each blocked by massive slabs of stone. Unlike the tomb entrance above, these slabs bore markings that had no resemblance to Greek, Aramaic, or Hebrew. The precision of the designs suggested knowledge of mathematics and astronomy far beyond what was known to the people of Bethany at the time. Dr. Khalid's voice trembled as he made his notes. "We are looking at something older than Lazarus, older perhaps than the tomb itself. Whoever constructed this place intended it to remain hidden." His words echoed off the chamber walls like a warning. Yet curiosity drove them further. Tools scraped against stone as the team prepared to breach the first sealed doorway. None of them realized that what lay beyond would challenge not only archaeology, but their very understanding of history itself. When the first stone slab was pried open, the chamber beyond revealed something that silenced the entire team. The walls were covered, floor to ceiling, with symbols, etched with a precision that no simple hand tools could have achieved. They weren't random scratches, nor were they ornamental. Each line, each curve, seemed to belong to a system of meaning that had been carefully preserved for millennia. The markings bore no resemblance to the languages of Judea. They were not Aramaic, not Greek, not even Egyptian hieroglyphs. Instead, they looked like a mixture of geometric codes and pictorial glyphs, spirals connected by straight lines, strange human-like figures with elongated heads, and clusters of dots that resembled star maps. To the scientists, it was as though they had stumbled upon an ancient language that predated all known civilizations. A linguist on the team, Dr. Elena Strauss, immediately began photographing the walls, her excitement tempered by confusion. "These symbols," she whispered, "aren't isolated. They form sequences, like sentences. But the structure isn't like anything I've ever seen." She noted that certain groups of symbols repeated at regular intervals, suggesting a deliberate pattern, perhaps even instructions or a story. But it wasn't just the language that raised questions. It was the material. When samples were taken, the team found that the walls themselves had been coated in a resin-like substance that hadn't degraded despite thousands of years underground. Under ultraviolet light, the symbols glowed faintly, as if designed to be seen in conditions of darkness. One particular cluster of markings stood out, a sequence of spirals surrounding a central circle with 4 radiating lines. To the untrained eye, it looked abstract, but to Dr. Strauss, it resembled an ancient diagram of celestial movement, something akin to an early map of the heavens. The weight of the discovery was overwhelming. If these markings truly represented a forgotten system of knowledge, then the tomb beneath Lazarus's resting place might not have been a mere burial chamber. It could have been a vault of information, messages carved in stone by a people whose identity had been lost to time. Yet, as the scientists would soon learn, symbols were only the beginning. In the darkness of the next chamber lay something far more tangible and far more disturbing. When the second sealed doorway was finally forced open, the air that escaped was stale, heavy, and laced with the scent of something ancient. The chamber beyond was smaller than the first, but its contents stopped the team in their tracks. Scattered across the floor, half buried in dust, lay bones, human, at least at first glance. But as the archaeologists crouched closer, the unease in their voices revealed a chilling truth. These remains did not match the proportions of ordinary human skeletons. Some femurs were unusually long, while several skulls showed elongated craniums that stretched backward in ways unseen in typical human anatomy. One skull in particular was nearly twice the size of a normal human's, with eye sockets larger and rounder than any recorded in ancient burial sites. The discovery sparked immediate debate. Dr. Khaled insisted on caution, reminding the team of the dangers of leaping to sensational conclusions. Yet even he could not deny that something about the remains was profoundly unsettling. "These are not deformities," murmured Dr. Strauss, brushing dust off an elongated skull. "They're consistent, too consistent. This was their natural form." Carbon dating was impossible on site, but preliminary analysis suggested that some of the bones were far older than the first-century tomb of Lazarus. They might even predate the known history of the region itself. Alongside the skeletal remains lay fragments of burial items, rings fashioned from metals unfamiliar to the scientists, and small carved figurines whose faces bore the same strange proportions as the skulls. The team's conversation grew hushed, as if the chamber itself were listening. One question pressed against their minds. Who were these beings buried beneath the tomb of Lazarus? Were they part of a forgotten people, erased from history? Or was this something else? Something that might explain the strange symbols carved in the walls outside? The discovery of bones that didn't belong cast a long shadow over the expedition. If Lazarus's tomb had been built atop this site, had the early builders known of these remains? Or had they too stumbled upon something they could not understand? The answers seemed to lie deeper still. Another sealed passage beckoned, its darkness hiding whispers of a chamber not meant to be seen. The team pressed onward, driven by equal parts dread and curiosity. The third sealed doorway loomed ahead, larger and more heavily fortified than the others. Unlike the previous slabs, this one bore no visible markings, just a smooth surface of stone that seemed almost deliberately plain, as though concealing something of extraordinary importance. The silence in the chamber thickened as their tools struck the surface, each blow echoing like a warning. It took hours of grueling effort, but at last, the stone shifted. As it cracked open, a cold rush of air escaped, far colder than anything they had felt before. Some swore they heard a faint sound carried with it, like a low hum, or perhaps the distant whisper of voices. The scientists dismissed it as a trick of the mind, but unease prickled across their skin as they stepped inside. The chamber was unlike anything they had yet encountered. It was circular, with walls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The air was unnaturally still, heavy with the scent of minerals and something metallic. In the center of the room stood a stone altar, perfectly symmetrical, its surface etched with the same strange spirals and constellations seen earlier. But here, the symbols were sharper, clearer, as though this chamber had been preserved with special care. What truly unnerved the team was the presence of faint impressions on the dusty floor, shapes that looked like footprints. Yet these were not the footprints of the scientists. They were too large, too elongated, and they led directly to the altar before fading into nothing. Dr. Khaled's hands trembled as he examined the engravings. "This wasn't just a burial," he murmured. "It's ceremonial, almost as if they were guarding something." His words hung heavy in the silence. Some of the scientists grew restless, whispering that they should leave the chamber undisturbed, but curiosity was stronger than fear. The altar held a hollow at its center, sealed with a circular stone disc. As they prepared to open it, none of them could have foreseen the object hidden within, an artifact that would defy every expectation. The circular disc covering the altar was pried loose with deliberate care. For a moment, the chamber was silent, as though holding its breath. Then, with a deep groan of stone against stone, the lid gave way, revealing a hollow cavity. Inside rested an object so strange, so perfectly preserved, that the scientists froze in disbelief. It was a small device, no larger than a human skull, yet it did not resemble anything from the ancient world. Its surface was metallic, though not tarnished by age, gleaming faintly in the dim light. Intricate grooves ran along its body in geometric patterns, interlocking with a precision too advanced for the tools of antiquity. At its core sat a crystalline structure, clear as glass, yet glowing faintly with an inner light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Dr. Strauss reached forward with trembling fingers, brushing away the dust. The metal was cool to the touch, but unnaturally smooth, as though crafted with technology far beyond hammers and chisels. "This doesn't belong here," she whispered. "It doesn't belong to this time." Speculation erupted among the team. Some suggested it was an ancient religious relic, imbued with symbolic meaning. Others whispered of advanced civilizations lost to history, their knowledge buried beneath centuries of dust. One younger researcher even dared to suggest the unthinkable, that this artifact was not of human origin at all. Theories aside, one fact was undeniable: the artifact's craftsmanship defied explanation. Modern metallurgy could not replicate the strange alloy it was made from, and no record in ancient Judean culture spoke of anything remotely like it. Even stranger, when instruments were brought close, the device emitted a faint electromagnetic signal, as if it were still active despite being entombed for thousands of years. The scientists stared at one another in disbelief. If this was truly as old as the bones and symbols suggested, then it meant human history was far more complicated than anyone had ever imagined. But if the object was not of this world, the implications were even more staggering. And yet, the artifact was not the only secret the chamber held. Beneath it lay evidence that pointed not just to ritual or burial, but to a practice so strange, so unsettling, that it shook the very foundations of faith and science alike. Beneath the cavity where the artifact had rested, the altar concealed something even more disturbing. As the scientists cleared away the remaining dust, they uncovered a series of shallow depressions carved directly into the stone. Each depression was shaped like a human hand, 6 in total. arranged in a circle around the hollow. The stone was stained with a dark residue, long dried, but unmistakable in appearance. It looked like blood. The chamber, once eerily silent, now felt oppressive. The arrangement was too deliberate to be coincidence. Whoever had built this place had intended these markings for ritual use. Dr. Khaled, usually the voice of restraint, could barely mask his unease. "This wasn't just a tomb," he murmured. "This was a place of ceremony, perhaps sacrifice." Further examination revealed something even stranger. Along the walls surrounding the altar were engravings of figures standing in circles, their hands extended toward a central glowing object, the very same shape as the artifact now in the scientist's possession. The figures were depicted with elongated heads and wide, circular eyes, eerily resembling the skulls found in the earlier chamber. Dr. Strauss traced her fingers over the carvings, her voice hushed. "It looks like they were performing some kind of rite, invoking something, or preserving knowledge. The blood, it might have been part of activating the object." Samples were taken from the stains on the stone, and though degraded, the analysis suggested organic material consistent with human remains. This revelation unsettled the team even further. Why would blood be required in connection with such an advanced artifact? What purpose did this ritual serve? One theory emerged among the more daring minds present. Perhaps the people who buried this device had seen it not as technology, but as something divine, an object worthy of worship, capable of interacting with them through ritual. If true, it would mean the chamber beneath Lazarus's tomb was not simply a burial site, but a place where ancient beings, human or otherwise, had communed with powers beyond understanding. Yet, as haunting as the ritual evidence was, the scientists soon realized the chamber held more than echoes of blood. In the shadows beyond the altar, they would stumble upon something that suggested the tomb itself was never meant to be left unguarded. The deeper corners of the chamber seemed at first to be empty shadows, but when the team's lanterns flickered across the far wall, they froze. Embedded into the rock was a figure, or what appeared to be one. At first glance, it looked like a statue, carved directly into the stone. But as the dust was brushed away, details emerged that defied simple explanation. The figure was tall, nearly twice the height of an average man, with shoulders broad and angular. Its head was elongated, just like the skulls found earlier, and its arms were crossed over its chest in a gesture that seemed both protective and defiant. Unlike the rest of the chamber's carvings, this was no rough depiction. The figure had been fashioned with uncanny precision, the surface of its skin smooth, almost lifelike. But it wasn't the artistry that unsettled the scientists. It was the material. Unlike the surrounding stone, the figure appeared to be composed of a strange metallic substance fused seamlessly into the wall. It gleamed faintly under the lanterns, and when touched, it gave off a faint vibration, as though something within still pulsed with energy. Some of the team began whispering about guardians, statues or constructs left behind by an ancient people to protect what lay hidden. But Dr. Strauss, staring at the figure's intricate detail, voiced a darker thought. What if it isn't a statue? What if it was once alive? The idea sent a chill through the chamber. The figure's eyes, though closed, were etched with such precision that they seemed almost ready to open. The air grew heavy, and several members of the team swore they heard faint reverberations, like a heartbeat emanating from the walls. Dr. Khaled ordered everyone to step back, his face pale. He had studied ancient burial practices for decades, but nothing like this. If the guardian was meant to serve as protector of the artifact, then disturbing it might have unleashed consequences no one was prepared for. Still, the team could not retreat. The chamber seemed to draw them deeper into its secrets. And soon, as instruments were brought to measure the metallic figure, the readings revealed something terrifying. This guardian was not entirely inert. The metallic guardian's readings stunned the entire team. Instruments designed to detect electromagnetic fields, radiation, and even minor vibrations registered anomalies far beyond anything previously recorded in archaeological sites. The guardian wasn't merely a statue. It emitted a subtle, continuous energy signature, unlike anything known to modern science. The pulses were weak but rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Dr. Strauss adjusted her instruments, double-checking the results. "This isn't possible," she muttered. "There's no known material on Earth that behaves like this after thousands of years. It's alive, in a sense we can't yet define." Further analysis of the artifact on the altar revealed a connection. The crystalline core seemed to resonate in sync with the Guardian's pulses. When brought within proximity, the crystal's glow intensified, and the energy readings spiked dramatically. The implication was undeniable. The Guardian and the artifact were linked, part of a system or mechanism that had been dormant for centuries. The scientists began to speculate wildly. Could this be evidence of an ancient technology, predating known civilizations? Or was it something else entirely? A relic left behind by beings whose understanding of energy, matter, and consciousness far exceeded humanity's. The possibility that Lazarus's tomb had been built atop such a chamber now seemed almost secondary. The real discovery was the potential rewriting of human history itself. Even more shocking, when Dr. Khaled gently tapped the artifact with a tool, the Guardian's form seemed to respond. The metallic surface shifted imperceptibly, almost as if acknowledging the interaction. The chamber itself seemed to hum in response, a low, resonant tone vibrating through the stone floor. The scientists, usually skeptical and methodical, could barely contain their awe. This was no longer archaeology. It was science at the edge of comprehension, a breakthrough that blurred the line between myth, faith, and technology. The chamber beneath Lazarus's tomb was not merely a burial site. It was a repository of knowledge, energy, and power, hidden from the world for millennia. Yet even with these revelations, one question remained. Who had built this place, and for what purpose? The answer, it seemed, lay in the final chamber yet to be explored. The final chamber lay beyond a narrow archway, its entrance almost imperceptible beneath the shadows. As the team stepped inside, the full scope of their discovery became clear. This was no ordinary tomb or ritual site. It was a complex network of chambers, each carefully aligned with celestial patterns and filled with objects that defied historical context. Crystals, metallic devices, and strange skeletal remains were arranged with geometric precision, hinting at a civilization whose knowledge had been lost to time. In the center of the room, a massive stone circle bore the same spirals and symbols found throughout the site. As instruments recorded readings, it became evident that the chamber itself was designed to interact with the artifact and the Guardian. Energy flowed along the stone channels, faint pulses resonating in harmony with the crystalline core. Every detail suggested intention, intelligence, and purpose beyond human comprehension. Dr. Khaled looked around, his voice hushed. If this is real, if this has been here all along, then everything we know about our history, our origins, even the miracles recorded in Scripture, it may need to be reconsidered. The team shared a tense silence, grappling with the enormity of what lay before them. Every discovery, the bones, the symbols, the Guardian, and the artifact, pointed to one undeniable truth. This tomb was built atop knowledge meant to endure, hidden beneath layers of time. What had been meant to remain secret had finally revealed itself, challenging the boundaries of archaeology, science, and faith alike. The questions that remained were staggering. Who built this chamber? Were these rituals a bridge between human and otherworldly intelligence? And perhaps most unsettling of all, what else might be waiting, still undiscovered, beneath the ancient stones of Bethany? The tomb beneath Lazarus has unveiled a mystery far greater than anyone imagined. A fusion of ancient ritual, unknown technology, and secrets lost to history. What lies beneath may forever change the way we see our past and the universe itself. Subscribe, share your thoughts, and join the journey as we continue to uncover what history has tried to hide.